Okay, so welcome back. Continuing, and as I mentioned just a few seconds ago, I turned off my external screen, so now I can show you how it really looks like. I think now you can actually see what I should have done this earlier. Sorry, but now you can actually see this thing. So here we have the file menu, the exit, this "Don't click here" button, and then if you click in, deleting hard disk, please wait. Okay, and so on. So you can see it much better. But I won't go over the whole thing again. What else? Okay, so this was one thing, and I have a couple of links here. Um, let's try. Okay, so there are a couple of other subjects I wanted to cover. Let's take a look at Jupyter Notebook now, if we are already doing all kind of other things than other formatting, other ways of programming. Work with course. And I have here make dir day 08. And in this folder, I'm going to run the Jupyter notebook. Okay. So in order to up till now, what we did is we used some kind of a plain text editor. I used Visual Studio Code, and then you could see that now I was using an editor called Vim that I would really, really recommend for everyone who wants to program a lot, but not now. Okay, so it's put it in your mind somewhere that once you become a full-time programmer, if that happens, then and if you're using Linux, and I would really recommend you take a look at this editor. Um, it is very powerful. But in any way, we were editing text files with these editors. And some people asked me back a few meetings ago about other ways to program Python, and we talked about Spider, and I don't think that I have here installed. Which Python? Let me try this one. Actually, we can even try this pip install Spider. I think this is how you can install. So Spider itself is an editor written in Python, and especially for programming Python. And now I'm installing it and all kind of dependencies. So this is one way to install it. Just pip install Spider. Let me, in the meantime, say here pip install Spider. And actually, let me check also pip install. I need to search for something in the previous. I don't have it. No. You might need to install tkinter, which is for the previous hour. Okay. I was looking for it. Okay, so I installed Spider. It installed, you can see it's installed tons of packages. And now we can try to run Spider. And it's complaining something here, but it doesn't matter. Start tour. Okay, I won't take the tour now. I dismiss it. This is an editor where you can, and I hardly know it. Okay, I use it once or twice, really for small things, but it allows you. So it will be more familiar for people, I think, who used RStudio or who used now I forgot. Yeah, for example, RStudio or yeah. Anyway, it's an interactive editor that you can write your program in and then execute line by line and stuff. I really don't like this style of programming, but if you're used to, what can I say? Okay, maybe it's more. I mean, it's clearly useful because people are keep developing it. So and probably they are using it, and that's why they are developing it. Okay, so that's one thing that you can use. The other one that I really wanted to show now is the Jupyter Notebook, or these days I think it's more called Jupyter Lab. Here too, in order to install, you write in pip install, and I think it's enough to write Jupyter. Okay, this is the way, and it's enough to run it. And then once you have this installed, so I think I already have it installed here. So it's just checking dependencies, yeah. And then I can run it like this, Jupyter, and I could say notebook, then it would run only the notebook, or you can say, and I just tried it now, Jupyter Lab, and it will run the whole lab. Now, the difference is that the lab contains the notebook as well, and it can contain all kinds of other things. I'm personally mostly use just the notebook, so I don't think that I've ever really used the lab. But the way it is used, both of them, is that on the command line, I started this, and probably you can start it from some GUI as well. I'm not familiar with this, how to run it on Windows in different ways, but you can come to the command line and just type in Jupyter Notebook. Let me put it here in the notes. So, and by the way, these 3 backticks I put here, I mentioned to some people to use that. This or this. These backticks are your single backtick here and at the end, or 3 backticks at the beginning and 3 at the end. They will let you, they will make the README file. So they will, you should do this when you're putting any command you would like to type in a command and show it to the user, or some code snippet. Because that means to show the command, the content verbatim, so the same way as it appears. The same happens also if you indent your content. So I think here, if I just say pip install, that would be the same. This is for the markdown, of course, but I personally prefer the backticks. I mentioned it to some people that it's easier. So Jupyter, back to Jupyter Lab or Jupyter Notebook. You run it on the command line, and it will start a web server on your computer, okay? And it will open your browser on to this address, localhost 8888/lab, because it's the Jupyter Lab, okay? So when you're using your browser, if you go to, I don't know, google.com, okay? What happens is here, your browser is accessing a web server, some application that serving you web pages. And then when you type in some search here, the same with DuckDuckGo, okay, DDG.com. Okay, this is DuckDuckGo, the search engine I am using. Oh, that's not the same thing. Okay, DuckDuckGo. Okay, wrong. I saw that DDG is the same. DuckDuckGo. It's a search engine with privacy. So when you're accessing it, the other side has a program. This is called a web application or a web server, and that's answering. The way Jupyter Notebook works is that it runs that kind of a web server on your computer, but for security reasons, it only makes it available to you. So the person running on the same computer. So you don't have to worry that now you let everyone else in the world use it. You could if you wanted to, but by default, Jupyter Notebook or Jupyter Lab only allows access to it from your own computer. So here on the command line, you can see the server running, and I can press enter here, and you can see this is the output it gave you. It also told you to visit this address. So and use this token to log in basically. So, but it already opened it, and that's how we got to this place. Sometimes, in some cases, it won't open the browser automatically, and then you can open a browser and copy paste this URL, this address. Sorry, this address. You could copy it to the browser, and then it will log into your server, basically running on your computer. So now that this is running, we can create a new, let's say, Python. They call it a notebook, basically. So we're going to create a Python notebook, and because this is the lab, it has all kind of other features. Okay, but I'm not that interesting. So I'm clicking on the Python notebook, and it's called kernel. What this does is actually runs on your computer, runs Python, and then you can write here various pieces of code, and they will be executed on that Python. And it will keep remembering whatever you already ran. So I'll show you an example, and that will be the easiest probably. But before we do, okay, so I just clicked creating one, and it says, oh, I created you something called untitled.ipynb. So let's see on the command line. And this one I can't, first of all, it printed out some stuff here already. Okay, creating a new book. We don't care about it, okay? That's not really important, but we can't stop this because that's the whole thing. So instead of that, I'm switching to another window if the Zoom thingy lets me, okay? Viz, and this is day 8. So we are in this folder, and you can see that in this folder, we already have this untitled IPYNB, the notebook that was created. And this is the extension. IPYNB is the extension. And I can even look at the content. Let's use untitled. Okay. So this is actually in the format called JSON. And we discussed the JSON format a little bit. We actually talked a little bit more about YAML, but but this is one of the standard formats available for us. Okay. And it's rather empty. It just says it's just the skeleton of it. So we don't care too much. We'll see content a little bit later. What I care more is that I don't like it being called untitled. I would like it to give it a name. So I can, I don't know how can in this notebook change the name. Rename, okay, so I just right-clicked here, I think. That's a right-click on the mouse and rename notebook. And I can say it, let's say demo. I don't have a better idea. Rename. So now it's called demo IPYNB. If I go to the terminal, run ls, now there is a file called demo IPNB. If I run cat on this demo, it actually has a lot more content already. I don't know why. What did it do? But it added all kind of stuff to it. I don't know. It's some metadata, I guess. Basically, probably just describing that we have an empty field here. So here we can start typing in Python code. Let's say x equal to 19. And then I can click on this arrow to execute what the content of this cell. So now this executed the content of this cell. I don't know if you noticed, it was an empty square and now it has a number 1. That means that this was already executed. Let me try another one, y23. Now I didn't touch anything yet, I didn't execute it, I just typed in, and you can see the square bracket is empty. Okay, so let's not execute it for now and create a new window below it. How can I create it? Let me try to find it out. Edit. I don't see how to add the file, add the cell. Interesting. I don't know. I can't find a menu option to add the cell. What if I right click? I don't know. Okay. So I press escape. Okay, for now. Okay. Wait, before because I can't find it. I can't find the menu option for this. I know the keyboard option for it, but now I can't find the menu option. So I'll show you or explain you how you can do it in the keyboard. So you can see it's now blue here,
Isn't it
right?
the plus
Sorry?
next to the save? There's a plus between the save and the scissors on the top left.
Sorry?
On the top left, you have a plus. Isn't it the
Oh,
one?
thank you. Okay.
Also, you can press just below your last cell if you put your mouse just below the last cell.
Oh, nice. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. So now okay, so now we've found two different ways to add more cells below. Thank you. What I wanted to explain is that now you can see this is blue. If I press the escape button, oh, it's still blue. Why? It's changed the behavior. Now if I press B, it works. Okay, so there's a different, okay, earlier it was blue and green. Maybe the notebook is still blue and green, but now that we are in the lab, it works slightly differently. So if I put the mouse here, then you can see that there is a blue border immediately around the box. This means that now I can type in stuff. For example, the letter B I can type in. Wonderful. Now I press the escape. Notice what happens. The blue comes around the whole thing, including this stripe. Now, if I press B, what happens is now it creates a new window below, that's why it's B, below the current one, okay? And puts the border around it, so it's still in this mode of adding more cells or going with the arrow up, okay? But if I press here enter, then I just press the enter button, then it becomes again, we get into the edit mode again. Now, let me try to click, the up arrow still works, okay? Jumps there. But if I type in B now, then it will show B. So I press escape again, and I think if I press question mark, no. If I press the H, still no. Oh, view, help, where is the help? I guess here. Show keyboard shortcuts. So this is what I wanted. So Control-Shift-H. Okay, let me close this now. Control-Shift-H. Okay, oh, it looks totally different than last time I looked at it. Apparently, things are improving or changing at least, okay? So with every tool you're using, but especially with editors, I really recommend that if you're using them a lot, then you start making yourself familiar with the keyboard shortcuts. Because if you have to move your mouse for everything, it's a long time, it's boring, and it also can, there are these various health issues with using the mouse. So it's much better that you can use the keyboard. It's going to be much faster for you. So that's why I recommend. Now, of course, if you use something rarely, I wouldn't just remember the keyboard shortcuts because that's a waste of your brain cells. But if for something you use often, I would definitely recommend it. And I guess you know Control-C and Control-V already, so that's the same idea, just a little bit more of these things. So here you can find, and this is how we found out, the various keyboard shortcuts that you can use. Escape just closed it. Let me remove this. So I press DD here. I'm in so let's say these are the two modes of working. One the edit mode. So when I click enter, now I came the edit mode where I can edit the cell. If I press escape, then I'm in, it says command mode. At the bottom of the screen, you might see it says here at the bottom, it says mode command. If I press enter, it says mode edit. So this is the two modes of this thing. By the way, the editor I showed you, the Vim editor, the VI or Vim editor, it had the original idea of having these modes. That one had 3 modes. This one only has 2, I guess. But it can be really, really powerful. So I go to the command mode, and now if I press DD, so the letter D twice, let me show you this one, DD. Now we are in edit mode, so I just entered the DD. I escape it, I escape the whole thing, and now if I press DD in command mode, then it deletes the current row. Okay, how to remember it? I don't know. I remember it because I've been using this. This is the same with the Vim editor. Control-Shift-H. I'm trying to find where does it say this. I can't find it. Yes, here it is. Delete cell. Okay, that was DD. You can figure out more. Okay, let me remove these ones. And here I wanted to type in X plus Y. And I can press Control Enter, I think. Yes. So Control Enter, what it does, it executes the current cell, exactly what this arrow means. But instead of bringing the mouse here and trying to click on this one, I just press Control Enter, and it executes it. Now, this one gave me an error. Why? Because Y, okay, the letter Y, the variable name doesn't exist. And now I can look back and say, okay, this one was executed. It has a number in it. And this wasn't executed. So that's why we don't have the Y. Now I can come here, Control Enter, it got executed. And I come here again, and now Control Enter, and it executed it, and already printed the result here, without me actually typing in print. That's another one of the advantages, maybe, of Jupyter Notebook or Jupyter, just let's call it Notebook, because we are actually using the notebook part inside the lab. Okay, so you don't have to type in print because whatever result is, it's already shown on the next field. Okay, and then I can go on and do all any type of Python thing. So I can define function, add, let's say x, y, and then if I press enter, I can return x plus y. Okay, let's call them a and b maybe, so they won't be the same as the variables there. And you can see all kind of things are showing me functions or whatever I could use here, I guess. So this function doesn't yet exist in my Jupyter Notebook, because I didn't execute this field. So I typed it in, but until I execute it, and now I press Control Shift Enter. No, that doesn't work. Control Enter. Because someone should have told me that in Python it's def, not function. I have no idea where did I get this function name, the word function from. Enter. Okay, so I just defined a function called add. And now I can use it, add 3, 4, and Control Enter. Oh, I forgot. I have to call return, right? And I have to execute this again. So redefine it. And I can come here. And now it returned the result 7. Questions? Do you have any questions? Okay, so let me just jump here and add here below this field another cell and call add 7, 8 and control enter. And now it's 15. Fine, the result is fine. What I'm trying to show you that there is a slight problem here. The definition of this function comes here below, and here for some reason I put there this add. Now I could do this and it executes and it works, right? Because the add was already defined. But this is now the order of these things is totally incorrect. So what if I now stay, okay, let's stop this whole thing and restart the whole thing. So I'm going to just brutally close this one. How can I close this? This one, I guess. Save your work. Yeah, please save it. I even close this one. I don't care about it. Okay, how it works. Here is the server. I just Control C and shut it down. Okay, gone. Okay, it's still thinking about it. I really want to shut it down. Okay, done, gone. It's gone. Okay, maybe you had a power failure and your computer had to reboot. Okay, so, or you went to a vacation and you turned it off. Doesn't matter. The file is here. Okay, so here is the demo IPND. Okay, this is the content. And you can see this is a nice JSON file. And you could actually read that this is the source. You remember this was the first cell. This was the second cell, and so on. This is the third. Where is the third? Source. This is the source, and then it has a result after it. Okay, and with all kind of metadata that I don't really care. I just wanted to show you that this is how it's represented. So it's not a Python program or a Python file. It's just JSON file with all kind of information to be displayed there. So now let's go with, start it again. Okay, your vacation is over. You want to go back and start doing this again. So here we are, again, started the thing. And I can see there is this demo file. So I don't start a new one. I would like to get back to this program. Okay, so everything looks fine. Let's see what happens now. I create a new cell below and I say add 8, 2. Sounds good, right? Control enter, and it gave me an error. Why is it giving me an error? Because in the current run of the system, okay, of what they call it a kernel, but behind the scene, there is a Python running with all the commands we have executed so far. But since we started this whole process again, we haven't executed anything yet. Okay, it sort of says that in the distant past you executed this, but not now. Okay, this is what basically says, and these were the results. So it remembers that you once executed this, and this was the result, and so on. But in the current running of this Jupyter notebook and the kernel, we didn't execute anything yet. So when I called add again, it says name error. I can't find the add. So I should call this, okay? But there is actually a better way. I should execute this one in order to have the add function. But it's not that there's a better way, but probably you have lots of commands, one after the other, and you would like to execute them all now, okay? You don't want to pick and execute just few of them. because you would like to continue your work. You have been experimenting here with some code. So what you would like to do is run selected cell, no, run all cells, okay? So I would like to run all the cells from the top to the bottom. And that's what I'm going to do. And I got an error again. And this time I got the error here when I called the add at the top. Because, and earlier it worked, right? Because we called it after we defined the function. But technically, physically, the definition of the function is below the place of where we're calling it now. So when we are executing the kernel now, one after the other, it will start with the topmost and then the next one and then trying this one. But this can't work because the definition comes after it. So this is sort of one of the dangers of relying on an environment. The same, I think, with the Spyder, but it's also with Jupyter Notebook or Jupyter Lab, that it remembers stuff that you did, and then it doesn't mean that you can start from scratch and get the same results back, because we just reordered things and it made problems. Now, even worse, what if you come and for some reason you delete this one? Okay, I'll totally remove this one. Now, it's completely gone. So you have this code that relies on a function, but we have already deleted this function. And wait a second, actually. I wanted to show you this one. Let's see. Let me add here. So I execute this. Let's run it again. Run all cells. So now it works fine, right? Because I put the add at the top. But what if I remove now this whole thing, okay? Just the same as I wanted earlier. I can still run this one. So I can still now go and let's add it here. Add, I can't, add 1, 2. Control Enter. And it still works, even though the definition of the function is already gone. So while you are editing the same Jupyter Notebook, you can define things, you can define variables, you can define functions, whatever, and then remove that definition, but keep using it until you stop the Jupyter Notebook and start it again. Or more correctly, until you stop the kernel and start it again. Because I can say here, kernel, restart kernel, and run all cells, okay? And then it will blow up because we don't have the add. Now it's trying to run, okay? It's okay, and it executed these two, and the third one, it blew up because there's no add function. So this is sort of a danger. I would like to warn you that now I press the A button to add the new serve above, and then I paste back this one. And I can run the whole thing again, restart kernel and run all cells. Now this runs the whole thing again, okay? The star means it's waiting to run, and now everything it ran, and this one is empty, so I can remove it. Okay. Any questions here? Okay. So so now I was warned you why it's bad. So why is it good, you might ask? Well, first of all, it can, for some people, this is way more, I don't know, understandable than what we did so far. It can be really useful when you're experimenting with some code, exploring how to write some code. It can be useful. The major part when I think can be really useful is when you're experimenting with lots of data and various analyses, and then you build on one on the other. Why is it useful? Because maybe your program is expected to read in some huge data and do some number crunching and then do some analysis, okay? So far, no problem. Where's the problem? If you now change a little bit this last piece of analysis, and you were working in this previous model, I mean, like the Visual Studio Code, then in order to try whatever you changed, you have to rerun the whole program, which means loading all the data, doing the first processing, and only then you get to the actual interesting part that you were changing. So if you have a lot of data and a lot of processing, it might take, I don't know, many seconds or many minutes till you get to the interesting part. So your feedback loop, okay, from the I made some change, how does it look like, to actually getting that feedback to see what the result is very long. And if you can reduce this, that will make your work much more enjoyable and definitely more productive, because now if you can get the result within seconds instead of within minutes, then you can do more experiment with your code within a minute. So it will be way more useful when you're loading a lot of data, or when you're loading a lot of data and doing experimental coding. And why is it different? Because if Jupyter Notebook, you say, okay, load this data, then this data was loaded into the memory of this thing. And as long as you don't restart the kernel, okay, as long as you don't have to restart the whole, let's say, your computer, then everything is in the memory. So you don't have to, and then you write some code to do some experiment, and then it's in the memory. So only the last piece has to be executed, and you don't have to load the memory in the memory. You don't have to do the pre-processing and so on. And we'll see it later on. But let me now, instead of that, do something else. Another issue that I saw and mentioned in earlier assignments, but here it will be also an issue. So people write stuff like this, file, and then they give me the name of the file, foobar input CSV, let's see, okay? So all the students who are called foobar will be able to run this program because it's on their computer located somewhere in the folder of foobar. But the rest of us won't be able to run this program because even if they supply the input CSV file, it's not in the C foobar folder because we are not called foobar, okay? Or whatever name you pick, okay? I could use my own name here or whoever names, okay. So I mentioned it several times. It's much better to use a relative path, and probably the file name is the file is in the same folder where the Jupyter Notebook. But what if really you need to get some input from the user? So you could say this input. Let me file equal input. I think you can do this file. I'm not sure. Let's get rid of this one. Let's run this one. Yeah. Okay. So you could use this input thing, input function that we had in Python, and it's the same here. And the Jupyter Notebook gives you a field here that you can fill in with some value. So input CSV, let's say, enter, and that's it. So you, instead of hard coding the name of the file, you could actually put here a call to input, and Jupyter Notebook will open this field, this window, where the user can input the whatever name of the whatever value they want to provide. Now this I use the word file here, but actually you can ask for anything, a number, I don't know, the number of whatever, a sequence, whatever, file name, of course. Okay, so you can do this. I think, and I'm not sure how to do this now, you could also ask it to open a file explorer. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if you could do that. Like what we had in the TK story. I'm not sure if you can do that, but if someone knows how to, then please let me know and then we'll show it in the video. So this is one way to overcome this issue that you don't want to actually hard code, because in reality, I mean, many people, what they do is then send this notebook to their users, and then these people start editing the Jupyter Notebook, let's say, writing here the name of the file that they have. But once they start editing it, who knows, maybe they break some of the code and whatever. I'm not sure that's a good idea. And definitely not a good idea if you are providing them with a .py file, because you don't want your users to edit your source code in general. By the way, .py file. I can come here now and say file. Was it export or save as? I don't remember. Save notebook, save all. Download, what is it? Download, I don't remember. Here, download, okay, download. Okay, now it just gave me a Jupyter Notebook. That's not what I wanted. There was a way earlier to download the content as a .py file. And I don't see it now. Anyone? Strange. File. Save notebook S, maybe. Demo, let's try this one, demo py. Nah, that's not what I wanted. So I have now a demo py. No, I don't want this demo py. Not that py. I would like to have a real Python file. I can't find it now. Save and export notebook. Okay. Executable script. Okay, now it saved me a demo, but it's in the download folder. Download demo py. Let me see. Yes. Actually, I think at least one person submitted something like this. So this is now, this way I could download as a .py file. As you can see, these are not cells anymore. You have these comments explaining what these are the cells. But I could now run this program. Of course, it will Python file. Of course, it didn't print anything. Okay, now it's asking for the file because that's what it has, this input code. Okay, it didn't print anything because I didn't have print. I didn't use print in the Jupyter Notebook because I didn't need to. But you have to remember that if you'd like to convert it into a .py file, then you will have to add these print statements, and it's probably better to do it inside the Jupyter Notebook, so you won't have to edit the .py file, because later on you might want to change the Jupyter Notebook and then export it again, and then it's better if everything is in the Jupyter Notebook. So probably I would want to have this here, print, and then let's see if this one works. So file, and I forgot save here as executable script. Okay, demo py. Now it's called demo whatever here. So here now the definition, and this is the add 7.8. Good. So if I run this one, it got the 15. Fine. So that's it. The demo IPYNB has all these cells, okay? And the thing is that it also contains the results. And it's not a big issue now because the results are just single numbers. So it doesn't make it much bigger. But let's see what happens here. No, it won't be much smaller. But if you have this program that you built in Jupyter Notebook, and then you loaded data and displayed the data and displayed the data as created an image and displayed that image, that all that is in the Jupyter Notebook file. So that's good on one hand, because you can just open it and see all the results of the executions, including the images. So for that part, it's good. On the other hand, it means that these files are going to be big, and that's probably not the right thing to save in version control. So that's a trade-off. Any questions before if you go to a break? If not, then let's have 10 minutes break, and then we'll continue with more.